Welcome to today's deep dive. Today we are exploring the surprisingly complex business careers that actually power the nonprofit world.
Yeah, it's a topic that really flips the script on how we view charities.
Totally. So our source today is an excerpt from this really eye-opening guide called Beyond the Front Lines.
It's a great read.
It really is. And the mission of this deep dive is to help you, the listener, discover how standard, everyday corporate skills seamlessly translate into mission-driven work.
Right, proving that you absolutely do not have to be on the quote-unquote front lines to make a massive impact.
Exactly. So to get us started, I want you to just picture a nonprofit worker, whatever pops into your head first.
I mean, they are almost certainly imagining the frontline heroes, right?
Oh, 100%. You probably picture a dedicated social worker or a tireless community organizer.
Or maybe an inspiring teacher.
Right. It's always someone with mud on their boots, visibly touching lives.
And that makes total sense. They are the tangible face of the impact.
Yeah, but today we are going to completely flip that script. We want to look at the invisible, highly sophisticated corporate infrastructure, making that frontline work even possible.
Because without it, the front lines just collapse.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because as I was reading the guide, I kept thinking about this like a major theater production.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, like think about a massive Broadway show. We all applaud the actors on stage, right? They are the frontline workers.
Right, they deliver the actual performance.
But without the stagehands, the lighting technicians, the ticket sales teams.
Finance, HR, tech.
Exactly. Without them, there is literally no show. The actors are just standing in an empty, dark room.
It's so true. And what's fascinating here is why this infrastructure is mandatory.
Right. It's not just optional support.
Not at all. Charities need money, they need staff, visibility, legal standing, and physical facilities just to exist.
You can't just have a noble idea and a big heart.
Exactly. And the source emphasizes this core thesis. The difference between a corporation and a charity isn't the what you're doing.
Right. And it isn't the how either. It's the why.
The why? I love that.
You are doing the exact same professional work, but for a mission rather than a profit margin.
Which is such a light bulb moment. Because we tend to think of nonprofits and corporate America as these, completely separate universes.
Walled off from each other.
Exactly. But the guide points out these incredible, direct skill translations. Like if you have a background in sales, that is the perfect foundation for relationship-based fundraising.
Because you already know how to manage a pipeline and pitch.
Exactly. Or if you have strong project management skills, that translates directly to volunteer coordinators.
You're just swapping out logistics for people.
Right. But wait, doesn't this mean you're just stuck doing the exact same corporate grind, just with a different logo on your laptop? I mean, what's the difference?
That's a super common pushback. But organizational size completely changes the experience.
How so?
Well, in large nonprofits like major universities or national health charities, you will find those highly specialized traditional corporate roles. So sitting in a cubicle doing one specific thing.
Right. But in smaller community-based nonprofits, you wear many hats. The rigid hierarchy just dissolves.
Oh, the source gives that great example of the development director, right?
Yes. A single development director at a local charity might handle major gifts in the morning.
Pitching a bank for sponsorship.
Exactly. And then write a technical government grant over lunch.
And then figure out the catering logistics for a gala in the afternoon.
Right. The variety of challenges is immense. Plus, there's a huge gig economy aspect to this sector.
Wait, really? Like freelance nonprofit work?
Oh, absolutely. Many of these hyper-specialized functions are outsourced. You have accounting firms that specialize uniquely in nonprofit tax codes.
Oh, that makes sense. Small charities can't afford a full-time CFO.
Exactly. Or you have freelance grant writers. You can build an entire independent business working with a whole portfolio of charities.
That is wild. Okay, so we've established that this operational structure exists, but, it needs fuel.
It needs capital.
Right. Which brings us to the revenue engine, or what they call fundraising and development. And here's where it gets really interesting.
The job titles alone are fascinating.
Yeah. I saw the title Prospect Researcher. What even is that? It sounds like an undercover operative.
It basically is. A prospect researcher is essentially a philanthropic private investigator.
Wait, really?
Yeah, before leadership asks a wealthy individual for $1 million donation, this person investigates their public wealth, their real estate, past giving history.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a blind ask.
No, It's highly strategic intelligence gathering.
So they tailor the pitch to what the donor actually cares about.
Exactly. And then you have roles like the planned giving director.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that one. The text mentions they handle wills and estate gifts. That sounds incredibly heavy.
It is. It requires deep emotional intelligence. You're sitting with individuals navigating complex legal frameworks of charitable trusts while dealing with family dynamics and human grief.
Wow. You're helping them build their legacy after they pass away.
Exactly. It goes way beyond a simple sales transaction.
So who oversees all this? The text mentions a Chief Development Officer, or CDO.
Right. The CDO and their team are basically the nonprofit equivalent of a sales division.
But instead of selling software, they're selling the mission.
Precisely. They're building relationships to secure financial resources, asking people to exchange money for the promise of real-world impact.
Okay, so the revenue engine secures the funding, but capital is useless without labor. You need people to execute the mission and a brand to attract them.
Which brings us to human resources and marketing.
Right, and the text details this uniquely fascinating challenge of nonprofit HR, managing a hybrid workforce.
It's arguably the most complex HR environment you can imagine.
How exactly does an HR department balance managing highly skilled, paid professionals alongside a completely unpaid volunteer workforce?
It's a huge balancing act. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the Chief People Officer, or CPO, is basically juggling two paradigms.
Because you have compensation analysts and benefits managers for the paid staff.
Right, the traditional corporate mechanisms. But simultaneously, they oversee volunteer directors.
Who have to create a structured, rewarding experience for unpaid staff.
Exactly. And think about the mechanics of that. How do you hold someone accountable for showing up late when you aren't paying them?
Yeah, you can't just dock their pay.
Right. You are managing human passions, not just payroll.
Managing passions. That is a great way to phrase it. And that naturally bleeds into marketing, which the source calls the voice of the mission.
Right. Because you have to communicate that internal passion to the outside world.
And the roles here are straight out of a corporate directory: SEO specialists, social media managers, CMOs.
The toolkit is identical, but their ultimate goal isn't driving quarterly profits.
Right. It's about building trust. They are driving engagement and inspiring action.
Whether that's signing a petition or setting up a monthly donation, the ultimate conversion metric is human empathy.
Which is so powerful. But because you are relying entirely on public trust to generate that empathy and revenue, you need strict oversight.
Essential oversight.
Which leads us to the final group, the guardians of the bottom line. So what does this all mean?
It means fiscal responsibility and transparency are paramount.
Literally a matter of survival. If a charity loses public trust, the funding dries up overnight.
It's an existential threat.
This source highlights this hyper-specific role that I found so interesting, the grant accountant.
Oh, that's a crucial one.
Yeah, because their entire job is specializing in tracking restricted grant funds.
Right, because if a foundation gives you $1 million restricted to, say, third-grade reading materials.
You can't just mix it into the general fund to pay the electric bill.
Exactly. The grant accountant has to build a completely separate financial architecture for that specific money.
It is incredibly granular work.
And it's just one piece of the risk mitigation puzzle.
Yeah.
You also have CFOs and auditors.
Right, checking for fraud.
Because fraud destroys the entire mission.
Yeah.
And then you have the legal and government relations teams.
General counsel, policy analysts, and lobbyists.
Yes. A lot of people are surprised charities have lobbyists.
I was. Why do they need lobbyists?
Because treating symptoms on the front lines isn't enough. You have to cure the disease at the systemic level.
Oh, so like advocating for affordable housing policies to prevent homelessness in the first place.
Precisely. No organization can function at scale without these legal and policy roles keeping operations compliant and pushing for systemic change.
They are the armor protecting the mission.
That's a great way to put it.
It's just so much deeper than that initial stereotype of the frontline worker.
Night and day.
And I think that's the big takeaway here. If you are sitting in a corporate job right now, whether in IT, accounting, HR, or marketing, and you're looking for more meaning, your skills are not just wanted in the nonprofit sector.
They are absolutely essential.
You don't have to retrain as a social worker to make a difference.
No, you just bring the tools you already have.
And for you listening, if you want to explore this further, you can find more information on nonprofit careers at Nonprofit.Courses.com.
It's a fantastic resource to see how your skills map over.
It really is. Check out Nonprofit.Courses.com. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final lingering question to mull over.
Lay it on us.
If the business infrastructure and the highly specialized skills required to run a massive charity are essentially identical to those in the corporate world.
Down to the exact software in a lot of cases.
Right. What does that say about how our society traditionally values and separates for-profit and nonprofit work?
That's a deep question.
By viewing charities just as the domain of, like, quote-unquote, frontline heroes, are we accidentally discouraging top business talent from applying their skills to solve the world's most urgent problem?
Something to really think about. We need the stagehands just as much as the actors.
Exactly. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.